Tracking a chance for showers plus the increasing risk of fire danger. I'm ABC10 Chief Meteorologist Monica was checking in on a couple of weather impact alert days ahead. We're really seeing that transition of seasons, and this is our peak fire season. You can take a look at the rundown. California's deadliest fires, the top four all occurring between October and November. And many of those fires also the most destructive in California history, including the Camp, Tubbs, Tunnel, and Cedar fires, all occurring in October and November, when we really hit that point of dryness for California, going several months without significant wetting rain. Satellite and radar showing that band of clouds just off the coast here, but the biggest bulk of precipitation going into the Pacific Northwest. So we'll be brushed with the tail end of this, the drier part of the system, and you can certainly see how our rainfall totals, at least on the model prediction from the European model, is showing only about 1/10 of an inch for the east side of the valley, up to about 1/4 of an inch or so for the foothills, where we anticipate a slight chance of seeing some thunderstorms as well. Snowfall is going to be slow to get going. Initially, it'll be too warm, snow level at about 9,000 to almost 10,000 feet. But then as that colder air works in, helping to destabilize the air, bring in that chance of thunderstorms, we'll also see that snow line come down to about 6,500 to 7,000 feet, putting snow on the passes potentially of about 1 inch in accumulation. That'll happen Thursday afternoon through early Friday morning. And then all eyes are on how things are going to develop with the winds. So let's take a look at the precipitation first. And you can see for our Wednesday morning commute, quick moving system here. We get the cloud cover, slight chance of a quick sprinkle, and then another band of rain comes through kind of on the back edge of this. This will be a chance for showers mainly during the late morning hours. Into the foothills, we have that chance of thunderstorms again for the early afternoon. We get a break in the precipitation, but it's at that point that we're going to start to see the setup of increasing winds. So on Thursday is when we first start to see those winds increasing, with wind gusts upwards of 25 to 35 miles per hour. Most notable on the west side of the valley and in through the central part of the Sacramento Valley, parts in the northern San Joaquin Valley and the Delta. It's cooler, showery weather for our Wednesday into early Thursday forecast as that low positions itself in the desert southwest in opposition to that high pressure ridge. That's when we get the gusty winds developing. They're very dry and warm winds, and it's going to warm us up after a brief period of some cooler weather. So our weather impact alert headlines will start when Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The impact being wind plus the fire danger, and really needing to practice that fire safety plan. Be ready to evacuate if needed. These fires can move quickly this time of year. Wind advisory in place along with the red flag warning starting on Thursday at 11 p.m. Now this will continue through Friday at 11 p.m. through the southern Sacramento Valley, parts of the Delta, northern San Joaquin Valley, and parts of the East Bay communities. But our red flag warning extends through a much larger part of California, and that actually extends through Saturday at 5 p.m. So it starts off late Thursday, but goes through Friday and much of Saturday as well. Now, it will be interesting to see if it lasts all the way through our Saturday forecast, depending on the wind. In terms of our possible public safety power shutoffs, it is going to go through Northern California all the way through the central and southern coast here into Santa Barbara County. That'll start up on Thursday with the potential for those power shutoffs, but we'll wait and see what PG&E determines in terms of what locations indeed may have those power shutoffs in terms of preventing a spark starting a rapidly spreading fire. But the significant fire potential is there. We've got lowering relative humidity, North Valley wind gusts that will be exceeding 40 miles per hour, with the biggest risk here throughout the Central Valley and towards the coast. Lesser amounts of significant fire potential throughout the Sierra, given that we have the chance of seeing some snow and even some cooler temperatures. Fire season so far, we're down below the 5-year average with our acreage, but the number of fires is pretty close to what we normally get. It's much higher, though, than last year, where we had about 450,000 acres burned at this point. We've nearly doubled that, with over 1 million acres burned so far this year throughout California. And again, the season isn't over yet. What's setting the stage for this particular event is the heat that we've been dealing with in October. We've had records on multiple fronts with this, not to mention all the record-setting heat that we had over the summer. But our hottest day was 103 on Thursday, October 3rd. We've cooled since then, but we're still running above average. Last Saturday, we hit that high near average at 82 degrees, but since then, we've been above average. October triple digits. Let's just talk a moment about that. The most ever that we've ever had on record, 6, was hit this year. The previous record was 5 days in 1980. The hottest October day on record for downtown Sacramento also happened this year. That was on that October 3rd date that I mentioned at 103 degrees. Now, it's not the latest that we've had a 100-degree day. That was back in 1991 when we hit a high of 100 on October 10th. But we kind of flirted with records on multiple layers here for October. We are going to get that cooler blast of air. As I mentioned, once that comes in, that snow level will drop throughout the Sierra, but right on the heels of that, we get right back to near normal, if not slightly above normal temperatures. We're going to be tracking the showers, the increasing winds, and the fire weather concerns, all part of our headlines here. Now, the first fall rain that we usually see that measures about 1/10 of an inch or more is October 7th. So we're already past that, not by much, but the latest day that we've seen at least 1/10 of an inch of rain, December 11th. So if we don't see it with this incoming system, we could go another month and a half or so, even 2 months before we see a significant wetting rain. Now, the first day last year that we had at least 1/10 of an inch of rain was October 10th. It was kind of a slow start to the rainy season and the water year last year, and it looks like we're pretty much on par for having the same setup this year as well. We've only had a touch of rain here throughout Northern California so far for the water year, which starts on October 1st of this year. It will go all the way through September 30th next year. You can see most of us running a deficit, not by much, given that this time of year we just don't, quite frankly, have a whole lot of rain until we get deeper into the rainy season. We have a couple of chances of rain here coming into the forecast, the first of which is what we're tracking for tomorrow into our Thursday. The band of rain moves through during the morning commute. It's going to be a real quick mover, not a big soaking rain for us, at least locally. Have a better chance of that accumulating rain north of I-80, just primarily because of the position of that low. That low also carrying with it the colder air. So once it starts to move our way, you can see it's going to be east of the state here. So the counterclockwise circulation kind of favoring the east side of the valley through the Sierra for the additional snowfall and rainfall that'll come in during our Thursday late day. And then once that starts to move its way south and the high pressure ridge builds in, that's where we really get those strong north and offshore winds. This is a classic setup for us here with extreme fire behavior at this point in the year. Just because we've had several months without wetting rain, all the fuels are just primed for anything to start. It would spread very quickly, kind of fueled by those winds, which would spread it at a rapid pace. And we've seen that, like I showed you before, time and time again. Okay, let's just focus on those wind gusts now and take it into a little bit more detail. Thursday evening is when we start to see the presence of those winds, which will be most notable. Wind gusts up to about 30 to 35 plus miles per hour. Also breezy along the coast here, where that red flag warning is also in place for parts of the coastal communities. Friday morning, it's going to be another one of those mornings that's going to be really difficult to be out and about, even if you're walking to school or riding your bike to work. Kind of watching out for those tree limbs coming down there. Our future wind gusts are going to be about 35 to even 40 miles per hour, even at that point. Now, by Friday evening, starting to see them lighten up a little bit. Might want to make sure those Halloween decorations are in too, because these winds certainly can be blowing things around out there. Winds start to calm Saturday afternoon, and again, that's the point where we start to see if they extend that red flag warning or not. Average monthly rainfall, even though this is an early season event, it does start us off getting us into a wetter time of the year, but typically we just don't see a whole lot of wetting rain in October, and we really haven't had that much rain at all over the course of the summer. The last significant rain goes all the way back to the beginning of May. Now, the 8 to 14-day climate outlook does showcase a likely cooler setup throughout the Pacific Northwest, but you can kind of see how that likely warmer is trying to edge its way back towards California. We have a little pocket of likely wetter for Central California, October 23rd through 29th. We'll have to see how that indeed plays out here. I showed you those 2 opportunities for showers, but that does get us awfully close to Halloween, which is 16 days away, and then everything that follows here. This is really the more active time of year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, when we tend to get more active weather in Northern California. This is just kind of opening the door and setting the stage for what's to come. Highs certainly are already starting to cool. We're in the 50s tomorrow for this Sierra, 60s and low 70s throughout the foothills. Along the coast, we're hitting highs in the 60s with highs moderating into the upper 70s to right around 80 into our Wednesday with the cloud cover and that chance for showers. Now it turns to snow for this year. You can see those overnight lows plummeting into the 20s by early Friday morning for this Sierra. Highs rebounding a bit for the weekend. Once we get those dry warming winds, we'll warm up pretty quickly back into the 50s for the Sierra. For the foothills, we'll be back into the 70s after a brief dip into the 60s. For the coast, 60s for Wednesday, then we're back into the 70s, almost 80 by Saturday. Our 3-day forecast showcases some of the weather impact alert days starting late Thursday, taking us through Friday as we really start to look at those winds, which will be most tenuous during that time frame there. And then into the extended 10-day outlook. We're dry, we're a bit warmer, nothing extreme right now, but all eyes certainly on that wind event. And we're going to keep you posted with our in-depth forecast on our ABC 10 Plus streaming app. Watch it wherever you are able to download those streaming apps.